I'm Scott Hamilton with Rockfile Radio, and I am on the Skype with the one and only ROINE STOLT. How are you today, sir?
Well, I'm fine. And I suppose I'm the one and only. I haven't checked, really. Maybe there's someone else. There's another Roin out there.
But we know you from Kaipa, the Flower Kings, Transatlantic, your duet with John Anderson, and of course that Sea Within. We love all of that music.
Yeah. I keep busy.
Yes, that's a wonderful thing. So here we are, coming up on October 30th. You'll be launching your new double album, and you even got Roger Dean to do the artwork. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I read that you, because of the pandemic and everything, you had to go ahead and get this new album out quickly. How was it recording across, the internet as you did on this project?
Yeah, I mean, there was no one really forcing us to do it. It was more like we came back from Japan for some shows in the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got home, we could feel we heard talk about this flu thing, this COVID thing,
Mm-hmm.
whatever they call it, Corona, I think. And then suddenly, I mean, I think Italy shut down first. They had some cases in northern part of Italy, so they shut down gradually. And our drummer is from Italy, so he found himself, unable to get
Travel.
out at all. And we had things like Cruise to the Edge coming up, etc. So we started discussing and watching the news day by day, and suddenly we realized that a lot of the shows that we had planned wouldn't happen really. I mean,
Right.
we're going to Canada, we go to United States and places in Europe, and everything is shutting down. And if you're a band, then you want to work, you want to do something. You can't just sit back and watch television or uh, I think we really quickly started looking into what we had as far as new songs and music.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I think we didn't really decide let's get this album out, after
Right.
or something like that. I think we more or less said that let's start working on music, and when it comes out, it comes out. I would probably guess the initial plan was, before all this happened, was to start working on a coming album, end of the summer or about this time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was that we actually moved it forward to I think in March already. We started looking at songs and material we had, and yeah, I mean we pretty much worked, with an open mind, and we didn't decide to make a double album. It was just something that happened
Right.
because we had lots of music, and we had, I mean, there was nothing else we could do. We could send files back and forth, and we could discuss
Mm-hmm.
the songs. We could try to find a way. I mean, technically speaking, how do you record an album when you can't be in the same room?
Right.
Well, it can be done, of course, and we had experience from, I mean, sending stuff. Normally we go into a studio all together, track the basic tracks, and then everyone goes home. As if
Mm-hmm.
living in different countries, drummer in Italy, bass player in Austria, keyboard player in, in America, and two guys in Sweden. So that means, I mean, normally, yes, we can get together, but when it comes to all the overdubbing and mixing and all that, we are still separated anyway.
Right.
So this was just another version of recording or making an album totally separated. But, it posed a few problems, not big problems, but once you're supposed to track something on your own, it's always like, okay, you track your drums or you track your keyboards, and then you're thinking, I wonder what the other guys are thinking. Will they like this?
Right.
Let's find out. Let's send them a MP3 file, whatever, or a WAV file.
Hmm.
So it's you cannot really get the instant reaction. I think
Right.
that kind of helps a bit. I think when you're in the studio and people get excited, you done a drum track or you done a piano solo or whatever, and people get excited about it, then you make a decision. This is a keeper. This is something we want.
Right.
And we can, if someone is doing like a percussion track, and then you can suggest stuff. Now the player is sort of isolated, and he had to make his own decision. Oh, should I do the tambourine this way, or should I do the bongos this way? And does the sound good enough? Should I move the microphone, etc. Lots of stuff that is a little bit more complicated, because you need to send the files and then someone need to listen. In this case, since I'm mixing it, it's usually me ending up with certain files from the bass player, from the keyboard player, or the drummer, and I have to decide if the sounds work, if the arrangement work, and that kind of thing. So complicated, but not impossible, I would say.
And did you learn some new things maybe, and some new ways to do things that you might carry on from this?
I mean, for me personally, well, I learn something every time. Every time I mix an album, it's like I look at something I've done in the past and think, oh my God, why did I do that? And oh, the cymbal sounds awful, or oh my goodness, that the snare drum is way too loud, or the guitar has way too much treble. So you learn things over time, but I think more. For the other guys, probably they learned a bit. I mean, the drummer was basically setting up his own studio. I sent down a couple of microphones to him, and then I sort of instructed him over the internet, in mails, and he sent video messages, and showing how we positioned the mics for the kick drum, etc., and the snare drum. And I said, oh, maybe move that one a little bit. So try that microphone for the low tom or something, that you get more bottom end, or. So a little bit of education over online, I would say,
right?
Because I've worked with this a long time, and I've even worked in a studio here in my hometown for a couple of years, some 20 years ago. So this has been the other side of ROINE STOLT is, the guitar player and the songwriter, but it's also the engineer or the mixing guy, so I was sort of the hub, where everyone can go ask, okay, how do you feel about this, the bass sound, is it good, is the kick drum sound good enough, etc.
Right.
But it worked, and we had time. I mean, time was really helpful, because we weren't stressed up about delivering
any kind of deadlines or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you work with Roger Dean? That, I mean, for any prog band, that's kind of a dream come true, I would think.
Well, to be honest, that came in very late. I mean, there wasn't any plan. I frankly, I mean, when all this started happening and we decided to record an album, we were looking at, yes, we have the material, we like it, let's go on now and start working with it, and all the sending of files and all the concentration went into that. And then we're sort of about to start mixing the album, and in contact with the record label, and they ask, oh, have you sorted the artwork? And I said, no, I haven't even started thinking about it yet. I know I should. I always, it's the same mistake every time. But I think they mentioned, or they probably asked, have you ever asked Roger Dean about doing artwork for you? And I said, no, I met Roger Dean, but I haven't really asked him about, because it felt like his art was so connected with Yes and
Asia and
Asia and and I'm aware of the Ozzy Bisa from the late 60s, and Gentle Giant, even the very first one he did for a band called The Gun.
Uriah Heep and
so
you're
many,
right.
Definitely. Badger, there's another one.
Right.
Yeah, so So yeah, and I've been very much aware of Roger and all the artwork he has done over the years, and I think my favorites are probably Relayer from Yes and
Yes.
Topographic Oceans. I think they stand out. But anyway, so this is what the record label suggested, and I got in contact with Roger, and he had started working on two things. He said maybe one of them can work, and I sent over two things, and interestingly enough, one of them was called Island Ferry.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and this was kind of a sketch, he showed sketches, and but I liked the colors, I liked the idea of it, and the other thing was that we had already decided to call the album Islands, so that was kind of spooky, because he had this painting and he didn't know. He said, "Oh, I'm supposed to be called Island Ferry."
Maybe it was meant to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I said that. Yeah, that's probably meant to be, and anyway, and the guys in the band liked it, so and they really wanted to move on with Roger's artwork, and so everyone was happy, and he finished the painting, and he helped a little bit also with suggestions of lettering, and placement and stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah, and was very generous, with sending sketches and stuff. So yeah, it was a very, very nice experience, and it seemed like all the fans so far have really connected and loved the artwork for the album and for the vinyl.
I really like it, so.
Yeah, and I actually got the vinyl today, and
Oh
could
wow.
through in real life. I mean, I've seen it before, but that's more like online. You can't really tell
You
what
can't
it.
touch it.
No. You got to open it. Open the sleeve and take out the albums and see the labels and all that. But it's great. It's all great. So we're all really happy with how that went.
That's excellent to hear. I don't think I've ever really asked somebody who's worked directly with Roger, and that's a great story. A year ago, you guys were waiting for miracles, and now we're to Islands. Why did you name it Islands, since you brought that up?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I think it well, it happens. So there was a song called Islands that finished the album, or rest of the band wanted that to be the song that was sort of the finishing song on the album. And this is a song that I wrote. I mean, sometimes you come up with song ideas or melodies when you're in a strange place. It doesn't have to be the toilet or in a sports bar, but it can be somewhere. And I happened to come up with a song idea when I was on the beach, on an island actually outside of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just there, me and my wife, and I had there was nothing I could write down. But I had my mobile phone.
Mm-hmm.
And in the mobile phone, there's some kind of app where you can actually sing in a memo. And I did. So I was just singing in this, and I didn't know what to call it. So because you end up with 10, 15 little song ideas in it, and they're just number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So I just tried to name it something. I was on this beach. I was on an island, so I just named it Island. And when I came home, I listened to some of this stuff I had, and this one was something that I developed into more like a full demo, with guitars and drums and etc.
Right.
So that one was lying around, and we used it for the album. And as I said, the guys wanted to finish the album with that one. And then the discussion started about what to name the album. And I think the majority wanted to call the album Islands. And I reminded them, or I told them, that there was an album by King Crimson that was called Islands in 1971. Probably before they were born, but
right.
anyway, there was one. I at least I had to tell them, I said, "Oh, no, that was a long time ago, and we didn't know that album, But anyway, and and it was kind of fitting because we were started talking about that and decided to call it Islands, and then looking at the lyrics and everything, you could sort of trace, like there was a thread running through, in the lyrics and everything. And I mean, the island is isolated from the land, and we are isolated. So it's about, I would probably call it isolation. And then we started the Toto album, I think.
Yes.
But there's no way you can win, There's always going to be an album called
something, right?
Something, totally.
But fortunately, this one came out in 71. You're separated by quite a few years. You should be okay.
Oh, yeah, totally. Or I get angry phone call from Robert Fripp.
Right.
Which,
I don't know, but getting him on the phone, that would be, I know you're angry, but can we talk some things?
Yeah.
So being a fan for a long time, I'm noticing a lack of really long songs. You've got 21 songs in 92 minutes, and there's only one that clocks in at over 9 minutes, one at 6 minutes, and the rest of them are what I would call average song and almost radio-friendly length. Was this something in your head when you were doing this, or is this just how the songs worked out?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the radio friendliness. I can't speak about that because I can't really tell if it's radio. There may be one or two songs actually that could be radio friendly, but that's not the reason. I think the reason is that I don't like to do things the same way every time, because it's more like a personal thing. I think it gets boring. So I think what I said to the guys was. People are probably expecting like this big epic from us, or at least a couple of 25-30 minute songs. That's
right.
typical Flower Kings. But I have to say, we made albums like Paradox Hotel. I think that had kind of a similar thing, 3, 4, 5 minute songs. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, we also made albums like Flower Power that had a song called Garden of Dreams. And Garden of Dreams is basically the same thing. It's probably like 15, 18 songs that we sort of just play them together and made one song that's called Garden of Dreams. But people look at it like and it's the same thing. It's themes coming back. There's a few lyrical themes or phrases coming back, and then you have all the melodies. That's what you have in Garden of Dreams, but you also have it on Islands. You have themes, and for anyone who listened to the album more than one time, they will get into this recognition of themes or riffs and stuff that was on a song 10 minutes ago, and that's the riff from that song, and there's connection and coherence, and I think it's almost like a riddle, the more you listen to the album, you hear these little things,
and that's what I love about progressive rock music. It just goes a little deeper, yeah,
I mean, you had it on already with the Beatles, on Sgt. Pepper, and you had it definitely, if you're speaking in prog terms, you had it. Genesis did this album called The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And that was basically shorter songs, 3, 4, 5 minute songs, But that's an album where they used it frequently, using the same verse, different instrumentation maybe. Mm-hmm. Where it was played on guitar or acoustic guitars on one song, it was played on a keyboard on another song, and it probably in a different key, different tempo, different drum beat, and sometimes using the same vocal phrases, etc. So this is something that's been done in prog, and it's been done definitely in classical music many times, and in more orchestral stuff, whatever, George Gershwin and people like that. So I think it's like a universal thing that, you make this big piece of music, but then you use and reuse themes all through the album, which makes it probably more familiar, once you start listening to it. And
kind of ties it all together, too.
It does. So, I mean, it was more like a technical thing that we actually just disconnected a few of the songs, and some of them are actually running in. It's fading in, fading out. But it's more like a technical thing. If you look at the album cover, you see all the titles, separated instead of calling it Islands. We could have called everything Island. And then people say, oh, the Flower Kings, I'm going to love this. They made this 63-minute song. I know it's going to be good. It's going to be great. It's Prague. And now it's going to be like, oh, no, it's the Flower Kings. They just made hit songs. It's just short songs.
They made a pop album. Oh, no. No, I can tell everybody it's definitely not. It's definitely what you want from the Flower Kings.
They haven't heard it, but they hate it.
There are several artists that seem to get that whenever they do something different. But that's what I've always liked about progressive music, because like you said, most artists in this genre and in other genres too, I'm not dissing any of the others, but you want to evolve as an artist, and you don't want to repeat yourself and do the same things over, but yet sometimes that's what the fans want, and it's got to be hard on you.
Yeah. I think you have to be aware, though, what you are. I mean, in the eyes of the audience, what they expect from you, and we always take that into consideration. It's not like we're thinking, okay, let's make an album that the fans love, but if we feel like the album or the song choices are going too much left field, maybe someone say, oh, we got to have that song in because that's typical Flower Kings. And then maybe has to say, oh, I love that song. And, and then it's okay. You have 2 guys or 3 guys that love a song. And maybe I say, oh, isn't that very much like something we did already? Yeah, but it's a great melody. And they say, yeah, you're right. It's a great melody. Let's do it.
Because in the end, it's all about making a great song.
Absolutely, totally. I think you just have to be. You have to sometimes look in from the outside and think of the music or the concept and all the songs and see what do we have and what will excite people, what will excite the band, and because we are the guys who are going to record it, So if we are not excited about the music, then it's going to show. So we got to put some passion into it and just find the right balance where we find, the melodies we love, the chance to play the instrument, for the drums, for the bass, and for a bit of keyboard solos, guitar solos, that kind of stuff. The textures we like, the cinematic sound of the band, and then. Once you have decided about that, then you just go on and do it, and you don't think much about it until someone asks, like you're doing now.
Until somebody starts to pick it apart and talk about it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, you've worked with many other projects, and I know as a musician, that's got to be quite just a wonderful experience to work with other people on like-minded music things, like with the guys in Transatlantic and stuff and the Sea Within and things like that. It must be nice to share those ideas. Do you plan to do more of that kind of work as well? I mean, obviously we're here to talk about the Flower Kings, but you've got your finger in quite a few other things most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in parallel with this, or frankly, about a year ago now, I think September last year, we started working on a new album with Transatlantic, and that's being mixed right now. So I have listened to the last few weeks, listened to the final mixes for that album, and all the artwork things. I mean, it's in the process, so to speak. So that one's going to be out beginning of next year, and things like the Sea Within, we don't know really. People are busy with other things,
right.
Tom Brislin joined Kansas, and they're working probably not live that much right now.
No, but their new album's quite good. So
it is definitely, yeah, sounds great. And Marco Miniman is doing stuff all the time, and so we'll see about that, and then we have the ongoing thing, the recordings or the demos or stuff that I'm doing with John Anderson for a possible second album.
That would be wonderful.
It actually worked. Just this afternoon, I worked a little bit on it and trying to compile, and we try to find out exactly what we have and see how we can move on with it, and orchestrate and make it good and unique and fun. So yeah, I mean, and I'm sure, I mean, the reality is we won't be able, none of us will be able to go out and play music live for, some time. We don't
Right.
know. Maybe not until next summer. So, and I'm pretty much relaxed about it. It's not like I'm sitting here and being really frustrated because we can't play live, because there's so much you can do with music, and so much development in terms of writing songs, of producing stuff, and finish stuff that you haven't finished.
Right.
Whatever dream project you're working on.
I can only imagine your hard drive is probably full of hundreds of little ideas.
Yeah. You say my hard drive. I would rather say one of my 25 or 30 hard drives. That's the reality. And the biggest of
Exactly.
them are like 4 terabytes. So it's terrifying.
Yeah,
Actually.
that's a lot of information. That's a lot of music.
It is, and I keep backups and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel pretty much relaxed about the future of music for myself, but I can at the same time really feel for a lot of the industry and musicians that are just out there touring and make their living from touring.
Mm-hmm.
And even not only the musicians, but also all the stage workers and venues and
Yeah.
users, and lots of people in the live scene are just terrified because they don't know when can we go out again, when can we start making money again, and when can we put bread on the table, when do I need to move from my house, or so it's a bad situation for many people, and luckily I'm not one of them, but I understand the worries, definitely.
Oh, definitely. And this has been a bit of a game changer situation, but I'm glad you guys were able to work and put out such a great album.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's I think all the band are really excited about the album, and but you never know until, I mean, it really hits the street, and the fans are, and the verdict is in,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, October 30th is the date for Islands, the new double album from the Flower Kings. It is 92 minutes long, and I'm telling you, there's not a bad cut on it. It's a wonderful listen, and I'm glad to have you guys. I didn't expect an album so quick. It's only been a year since the last one, but I'm very happy to have it.
Yep. Yeah. That's what we do. We do albums.
And you do them well, Roy. And thank you so much for taking the
Yep.
time out today and talk about it.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
And let's check back in after this comes out and talk some more. I've got some more questions for you.
Totally. That's okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yep. Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.